Board of Trustees and Fire District meeting. Today is Monday, June 3rd, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. The notice requirements of section 121.22 of the Ohio Revised Code and the implementing rules adopted by the board pursuant thereto were complied with for the meeting. Roll call.
Baroli here.
Fullerton here.
O'Neill here. Let's stand for the pledge, please.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Announcement, we had ended up being a big change to the agenda tonight. The applicant for the zoning commission special meeting has decided to, I don't know, pull their application, or they're not interested in.
They're not going to present tonight.
Presenting tonight, so there will be no zoning commission special meeting, and we're not planning on discussing that project right now.
There's nothing to discuss. There's nothing in front of the board.
They may come back and apply in the future, but as of right now, we'll just move forward with minutes for the.
Well, I'd like to kick in on that. Yeah, apparently, well, I think Justin, you had emailed out 1:30ish or something, so I'd reached out to Bill Thorne, who was representing the township as the law director, and he said rumor was out on the street that two trustees already made up their decision on that ruling, and I'm gonna tell you right now on the record that that's absolutely false. Actually, I was quite intrigued to hear the two boards interact with the Ohio Pool, so I do wish that they do come back so they can get their fair shake. So
Chris,
that's no public.
we can't hear you. Yeah, I can't hear you either.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's it, for the record.
Guess it don't matter.
I feel the same way. It's disappointing. I don't know where a rumor like that started. I know I didn't talk to anybody. Certainly didn't tell anybody how I would vote. I didn't talk to these two gentlemen. I did talk to a couple residents, but you can count them on one hand, and certainly did not tell them or even imply how I would vote on it. I was looking forward to hearing from all the parties.
And I think, I guess, I mean, the only thing that I would add, one of the things that I had heard that potentially added to some confusion was that this was the same thing that was addressed last fall, which unfortunately, I don't know if it was the way that it was communicated, was not the case. Last fall, what was being reviewed at that time was an actual text amendment change to the entire zoning code. What Ohio Pools was intending to present tonight was their specific project and ask if it fell under the comparable use of the current zoning code, which is why it requires action by both boards. So I don't know if that led to part of their decision. Unfortunately, we just got word on that this afternoon. So for anybody that's here because they were interested in that piece of it, just know that if it does come back up, it is not the same thing as last fall. It's not an amendment change to the entire code. It is specifically to that loan project, that loan parcel. So,
Good.
Okay. Minutes pending approval from our May 6th meeting. Any comments on those?
Nope.
the ones, those are with revisions, correct?
With your revisions?
Yeah, yes. Yeah, no, I reviewed them. Those are the ones that
right.
Chris
Okay.
had.
Yeah.
Okay, we're fine.
I would move to approve.
Yeah, I'll second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. I'll approve as well. Aye. Unanimous. Consent agenda. Everybody have an opportunity to receive the review reports from our directors.
Yes.
Questions, comments?
Not aye.
Motion to approve.
I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Fiscal, Laura.
Nothing additional.
I did have a couple of things on fiscal, if I could. You know, not that there was anything wrong with the reports, but the financial reports that were sent out for tonight's meeting, the last bank reconciliation was completed on February 29th. Today's June 3rd. In order for the board to make sound financial decisions, it's imperative that financial reports be current and accurate. I would ask that the board consider a motion to request that Fiscal Officer Rubensall activates the email notification tool within the e-services account for UAN to alert all board members anytime a bank reconciliation has not been completed within the last 60 days for both the township and for the fire district.
This is an email notification, that's automatic.
Correct, and Laura can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm under the impression that UAN is able to just notify us anytime that a bank reconciliation hasn't been in the last 60 days.
I don't know.
I don't know if that's the case either, I'm not saying it is or isn't. That being the case, I'm not prepared to vote on that. Okay. Ty?
No, but I would like to look into it, that's for sure,
Okay.
and I will do that.
And if you want to give UAN a call, you'll find out that I was on the phone with them on Saturday morning, trying to get the bank rec done.
Gotcha. Okay.
But due to the auditor making post-fund adjustments, it's out of balance, and they want me to circle back with Terry, so.
Okay. The other thing I had, Laura, you had sent an email on Wednesday, in regards to the AT&T phone bill.
Yes.
Can someone explain this bill to me? It looks like there was another line added at a cost of $175 initially and then $113.33 thereafter. Whose line is that and why are we paying $6 a month for Next Up? This looks like a pricey line comparing it with the rest. I need to know how to split this bill up and therefore need to know how these are assigned and the two phone numbers are listed on there. Did you ever receive a response to that email?
No.
Do we have,
I know that we added a new line in, April, might have been the first month, late March, April, for our admin. It is basically to control the key at the new town hall lock. But it should not be $175 a month,
well,
by no stretch.
the line that was added according to the last bill that we received is $90 a month just for the phone line with an installment of $14.45 on 36 months for the phone. When you take it over the 36 months, that's over $4,000 for the
That should
line.
not be the case. I need to, Laura and I can go in and talk with the AT&T folks on that.
But I guess my question is, when was this discussed and approved and under whose authority?
I went to AT&T and got a new line. It was supposed to be like $7.
Okay, but it's clearly not.
Correct, yeah, and that's the first time I've seen it, so I would like to go iron that out with them.
Okay.
It's far higher than it was supposed to have been.
And then Laura, the last thing, the last batch of checks that was left for approval, there was a reimbursement for trustee O'Neill in the amount of $663.95. Attached was a receipt for a digital camera and memory cards dated May 6th, 2024. And I'll just, the questions that I have, and I'll let you handle them how you want, but, you know, one, where's that check currently? Two, was the purchase cleared with you in advance in accordance with our purchasing policy? How did that constitute an emergency that was unable to wait to the meeting that we had that evening? Was the camera logged into township property logs? Where is it currently stored when not in use? Why was it never discussed for approval at the May 6th meeting? And can we legally reimburse Mr. O'Neill for sales tax that we're exempt for as a township?
So the first question, I mean, I have the check, it's still here, it needs to be signed, so all the other questions I will direct to the chairman.
Well, I guess the only other one that I would have that I think you have to answer is, you know, did anybody clear that with you before it was purchased? I mean, and the reason I ask is our purchasing policy, you know, the resolution for continuing authority of the fiscal officer to authorize and make expenditures from the general fund up to $3,000 and with the agreement of the trustee liaison. So, you know, if it's not cleared through you first.
Yeah, Chris
We shouldn't be
reached
making
out
this.
and said that he would be shopping for cameras.
And that was done so that we could, record the meetings going forward.
But it needed to be done that day, we couldn't have discussed it that night.
I didn't know if we were gonna have anybody available for sure to video the meetings.
Well, I mean, since it falls kinda under fiscal, why don't we do this now? We've been talking the last couple of meetings pretty heavily about the 2020-2021 audit. It's been discussed that the reason that audit took so long was the split between the fire district and the township, correct? And, you know, that we were really kind of in the dark as far as like the trustees, as far as what that process was. Am I kind of
I was in the
summarizing?
dark too. They emailed me questions and I answered them.
Well, the nice thing is once an audit's complete, it becomes public record. So that's about 100 documents from the auditor, between the auditor of state and the auditor auditors doing it. And what I find interesting is of those 100 documents, there's exactly one that discusses the split between the fire district and the township. And it is an email from Jessica Heldman at Perry and Associates, and the only comment is, officials from both entities are begging to have the two entities combined back together into one to make sense of how they believe things are run. To which Eric Klein responds, at this point, it seems like my advice would be for the entities to work with their attorneys to determine who the debt belongs to, etc., as a starting point. So this would kind of counter the claim that the auditors had any interest whatsoever in a split between the two.
Were we copied on that?
No, but this is their internal document that talks about how they're being done. It's all public record now. What's very apparent is there are no less than 5 different ethics and fraud complaints that were made that were investigated and delayed things, including a meeting on Monday, November 27th between Kate Simo and Colleen Swedick and Ty Fullerton, to address issues from 2016, 2017, split purchases, basically a whole bunch of stuff that falls well outside of the audit period. So I'm not really sure that these documents support any of the claims that we've made as to what the delay on the audits were. And the biggest question I have is, you know, the split between the fire district and the township. I don't understand why we would be advocating so heavily to bring it back. The only thing that would change, really, nothing for the residents and solely the compensation of the 4 of us up here. So why would we be advocating to put the 2 back together?
Are you implying that we were?
I'm just asking. They're clearly under the impression, I mean, the direct quote is, officials from both entities are begging to have the 2 entities combined back together into one. So who's begging to have them put back together?
That's a good question.
And we weren't copied on that, so I don't
I have
understand
no
why you even
idea.
asked that question.
Okay.
I mean, this is internal correspondence between.
Sure,
the
they're
two
all
people
public records
here.
once an audit's done.
That's fine, but
Quite a
I
few of
don't
them.
think anybody up here
Okay.
received that stuff, did they?
Yeah, they're on the site.
But they're the auditor's accounts of working with us on the audit. So, alright, that's fine.
But did you talk to the auditor that was actually working with us? Shannon Seacrest? That's who communicated with me, so if there's other communications, I don't know what they are if I'm not copied on them.
If you're the only person that the auditors were, I mean, they very clearly referenced officials. So somebody at Perry or the auditor's office was talking to more than one person at the township. I mean, it's pretty clear what the email states. And it's also very clear from a review of the documents that it had nothing to do with the split between the fire district and the township. It was 100% because there were so many complaints that were being investigated. And I'm not saying that they all included the 3 people up here. I'm saying just in general, there were a number of different complaints, whether it was anonymous complaints about the resource officer, anonymous complaints about improprieties with insurance, which doesn't even fall through that audit period necessarily. There were several other complaints that were made. That's clearly what delayed the audit, so I don't understand how there was such a difference in impressions on what was holding up the audit and what was told to the public.
I can't answer that, I can tell you to talk to Shannon.
Okay. Shannon Seacrest?
Shannon, is that correct?
Are you
Yeah.
implying though that anybody at this table was holding up the audit? Are you trying to insinuate?
No, I'm saying that the holdup on the audit though wasn't the explanation that was given, it wasn't the split between the fire department and the township, it was that they were investigating a number of complaints that were made, several of which were made by Mr. Fullerton, even though he said that there was no involvement in the audit process. That's all, just trying to make sense of it.
Anything else on fiscal?
No.
Service, Rick?
So on my agenda there, or on my report,
Okay. We do have 3 quotes for the floor of the town hall. All including, all related to the epoxy flooring. You get the first one, that first one was from several months ago.
I stopped down and talked to Rick. Rick, which was the one that we discussed that you would, you had preference on?
that new floor, which was the, or new look,
New
that
look.
was the cheapest one, it was
Yeah.
12,750.
Yeah, Rick and I had talked about it previously, so.
To me, this one makes the most sense. All of it's all for the same style flooring, correct, Rick?
Yeah,
I would make a motion to approve new look coatings to go with the install for $12,750. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, pose same sign. Motion passes.
For $12,750.
Yes. Also, electric, I think Rick has attempted to get 3 quotes from electric contractors, but, as of right now, only one has responded, and it appears to be a pretty good price from your estimation, correct, Rick?
yeah.
I wouldn't know, I'm not an electrical professional, but, the electric there is way outdated, probably from the 60s, so, needs to be redone. I would motion to approve $9,800 for J&B Electric, to redo the electric in the town hall.
Well, I think the only hesitation I have is, one of the things that came up in the audit review, was concerns raised that we have a set limit of $500 without getting multiple bids. So, we either need to, take action to amend that and get rid of that requirement, or we need to get an additional bid.
Rick, I thought you said, where you hiding? I thought you said, someone was gonna have a bid for tonight.
No, they weren't gonna have it for tonight.
Oh, they weren't.
But they were supposed to originally, so we did request it.
Right, I know, I get that, and I know, that it's what's holding up the project,
Right.
so, I don't have a problem doing it, but we're gonna have to, we can't just ignore a stated policy.
Right. Any suggestions?
I would try to get another bid and call a special meeting and approve one.
Okay.
Rick, what do you think the possibilities of getting a bid this week are?
I have no
No clue.
idea.
Okay.
I'll look. I have no idea.
Well, I'm okay with it.
Seeing if we can get another bid and then holding a
Yeah.
special meeting just for
Yeah.
that? Alright,
I would, just because it's holding the job up.
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is, we need to get it fixed,
Yeah.
but it makes sense.
Okay. Fire, Chief Kavanaugh?
Good evening, everyone. We had 75 calls for service in the month of May. 1 in Chatham Township, 2 in the city of Medina, 54 in Lafayette Township, 1 in Liverpool Township, 1 in Chippewa, or 6 in Chippewa Lake, 8 in Gloria Glens, and 2 in Seville, and 1 in Westfield Township. 72% of those were EMS calls, 5% fire calls. Daytime we had 43, and nighttime we had 32. Our average turnout time is 1 minute and 48 seconds, which is really good. 2 minutes and 2 seconds turnaround time, and 5 minutes to be on scene, so, which is very good. We gave mutual aid to Seville twice, Chatham once, Medina City twice, Westfield once, and Valley City once, and we received mutual aid 5 times. We had a very busy month, multiple calls in a row, and people had to come bail us out, so. So some things we've been doing in the last month, our department participated in the National Day of Prayer with Lafayette United Methodist Church on May 2nd. EMS Week, its 50th anniversary year, was May 19th through the 25th, so thank you to all our EMS providers and all the first responders in our community. We appreciate what our paramedics and EMTs do on a daily basis. Our department, along with many local departments, participated in the Medina County Kids Safety Day on May 21st at Buffalo Creek Retreat House in Seville. 100 homeschool families attended and learned about fire safety, bike and pedestrian safety, vehicle and car seat safety, and boating safety. Our own paramedic firefighter Zach Smith was recognized with the Star of Life Award in Columbus on May 22nd for his heroic efforts on a call while working with the Medina Life Support Team on a dog attack in Medina. And it was a very good outcome for that lady, and he did really well, so very proud of him. Our department participated in the Chippewa Lake Welcome to Summer Golf Parade on May 26th. Kelly Parker and Noah Gable have begun firefighter level 2 certification, will be completed at the end of July. Lieutenant Andrew Berger and Lieutenant Scott Owen completed their National Incident Command Safety Systems ICS 300, and they'll be completing the 400 in July. Those are leadership courses for incident command systems, so it's a national course. It's for big incidences, so it's a good thing to have. I attended the Bowling Green State Fire School and completed my basic fire investigation course. I also attended inspector updates from Northeast Ohio Fire Prevention Association in Middleburg, 1996. We applied again for the ambulance retention grant in the amount of $75,000 for bonus funds for our department members. These are additional state Ohio funds for supports of EMS systems that continue to struggle with competitive wages, which is what we're struggling with right now. So, our yearly hydrant testing has begun and will continue through the spring and summer. We should be close to be completing in mid-July or early August. We received 1 ambulance quote specification to date, waiting on 2 additional quotes, and I think I've sent those to you guys for review. I have one other quote, comparable if you want to review it. It's so the original quote, for those of you who are in the audience, it's $337,432 for an ambulance in this day and age, which is not great. It takes about 3 years to build it. So that's one quote we have. We have another one for $375,000 from another company. So we're working on getting competitive quotes for ambulances and hopefully planning for that future purchase. Requesting approval to hire Isaiah Hilton. I just gave the applicant information to Laura. He interviewed very well. He's attending firefighter level 2 certification course in the Medina County Career Center. He's a Marine Reservist Sergeant. He plans on attending paramedic school in January of 2025, which will be great for our department. And he is just an outstanding young man, deployed to Iraq a few times, very motivated and very dedicated individual. So that is all. And then we have, I submitted a quote for you guys to review, course of fire and security, the camera upgrade quote. It's the total quote for ARPA, using ARPA funds would be $10,389 to upgrade the camera system we currently have, only adding a few additional and upgrading the ones we currently have. We approved $46,000 in, I think, December for the whole project. So it would be under that. It's about 41. It's coming out to be at 41,000 for the whole project. Any questions for me?
Well, why don't you stay up there, Chief?
Yes, sir.
I would move to hire Isaiah Hilton.
Pending background check.
Yep.
Okay.
He's already
I'll
got
second.
it.
He's done.
He's getting it done, so yeah, yes, sir.
All
Any
those in-
background check, absolutely.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
In discussion on those cameras, I'm kinda shocked it came in at only 10,000, to be honest with you. I thought it was gonna be more. And he's right, we did approve, for cameras and, the keyless entries. Keyless entries are done. So we still do have some funds left for the camera upgrades. So I would make a motion to approve, Corson, to do the camera upgrades for $10,389.
And again, those are ARPA funds off the
Correct.
township, off the township books.
Yep.
Correct.
I'll second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign?
Give you guys the things to look
What's
at.
right, stay there for 1 second.
I'm like, if you wanna review them, you can. I was- Wow, I'm
You
No.
emailed them out.
surprised.
Yeah, you emailed
It's a
it.
good meeting for you guys.
Well, you know what I'm gonna ask you, it was the same thing that I asked you last month, just updated numbers. Through the end of May, salary expenses at 223,000.
Yeah, so,
Puts us on pace for 535, forecasting the other fixed expenses we have, right now, we're tracking to be about 150,000 over what we appropriated.
so I have it figured out differently, but
Okay.
that,
Where do you have?
we
us?
are over, we will be over a little bit in our salaries, in that general fund salaries only, but we can move money. I don't believe we're gonna use all the appropriation that is allocated for the.
For salaries.
For we can move other things into salaries is what I would
Right,
suggest.
but I guess what I'm saying is I'm looking at the total budget for the department, we appropriated 1.258 million.
Oh, no, I'm only counting 800,000.
Well, I know, but I'm just, the whole thing, looking at
Okay.
it's just easier off the report, and right now, again, I know it's a little rudimentary to track it off of the 7,
Right.
but pacing, we're pacing to spend a little over 1.4.
So we're over by a little bit, like if we move money around, our contingencies, we're gonna be under the 800,000 that we appropriated. Total,
How?
by moving funds around, so,
But we're talking total spending. And
Total
unless
spending.
there's things that we were planning on spending that we're now not gonna spend,
right, like,
what are we cutting from the budget?
well, we're not cutting any, we're not gonna use all the maintenance fees, we're not gonna use $10,000 for PPE, because I got a $14,000 grant for PPE, so we're not gonna use that $10,000. We're
So
not,
you think grant money's gonna make up?
grant money that I
Some.
received that is gonna offset some of those costs. It's not gonna be perfect, if you look at the last page of contingencies, that's where we're gonna be cutting into that $800,000.
Right.
That budget, that contingency money is gonna have to probably be moved over to salaries at one point or another. We're tracking the same way we did last year, we're spending about 60 grand a year, I'm trying to reduce that amount, but without
60
cutting.
grand over per year?
No, 60,000, or
A month.
60 a month, yeah.
Yeah, right.
What I'm trying to not do is cut staffing, and that's what would be the next thing, is that cut that third person during the day or something, or, and I don't wanna do that. I believe I could still go under,
Okay.
we spent $883,000 last year. I think, I'm anticipating to be under $800,000 this year.
Alright, hold
By
it.
keeping my guys from going to ask for, can I buy bleach? Can I buy this? Yeah, so, it's like dad with a checkbook, it's not easy.
Thank you.
Brian,
Yes, sir.
so your last thing on your report is that you wanted to talk about future planning of the fire district. I mean, these are good questions that Justin's
yeah.
bringing up, and I mean, they're serious, and we all know that, cause we watch it and in communication with you, so, I'd like you to share your vision and, with the folks here, and,
So, yeah, and as Rapola, you're saying, is we're scraping the bottom of the barrel. And I could do everything I can to keep us from not scraping the bottom of the barrel, but we're gonna continue to scrape the bottom of the barrel. We don't have a turnover, which is great. We don't have a lot of turnover, which is awesome. But eventually we may, because we're not gonna keep up with our neighboring departments. We're not gonna keep up with competitive wages, and people are gonna move on. So a good example is, we have 3 of our firefighter paramedics that work in Seville full-time, or they work in Seville part-time, and they work here part-time. They'd rather work in Seville because they get paid $2.50 more an hour, and they get paid for 24 straight hours. And we get paid we pay our firefighters 18 hours of a 24-hour shift, and then we give them a stipend of $30 to spend the night. It's sustainable for a little bit, it was sustainable in the past, but I think the way things are going, it's not sustainable. And I'm not the guy that says, hey, I wanna raise all the taxes and ask you guys for a bunch of money, but we're gonna continue to go down that road of not having funds. A couple things I was gonna bring up, so I'll just go over this. So the stipend overnight is $30. That's what they get to sleep overnight. Who in here would wanna spend the night at the fire station for $30 for the night? Anybody? Anybody?
Are there any spiders here?
anybody-
So,
Because otherwise I'm not coming
and
in.
you could go out on a call where somebody's having what's called a GI bleed, and they're having explosive diarrhea, and, you
Now,
gotta
not
get up.
that it makes any of those things sound better, but
Yeah.
when they go out on calls, they do get their hourly.
Absolutely, they do get their hourly
when they're
pay,
on the
right,
calls.
right,
So-
right. But it's horrible, it's not a great situation, but yeah,
I'll take your $30.
limited hours, so also our staff is limited in hours, so why we're hiring people is because we can only keep them, we're supposed to keep them at 29 hours a week. If we go over that 29 hours a week, we potentially have to offer them healthcare. If we have to do that, then that would bankrupt us. So, we have to keep that hours down to 29 hours a week. Sometimes we can play with those numbers a little bit. It's a long, kind of a year-long process. We can keep those numbers kind of at that 29-hour average, so that works. Our township is grown, and it's growing, and it continues to grow, so we've got to keep up with that as well. So, my idea is we start to transition to more full-time positions or more full-time staffing, at least paying them 24 hours for their services, and then move on from there. We need 1 to 2 ambulances in the next 5 years. We could probably get away with 1, but we're gonna need 2, and I just read the quotes of $375,000 or $337,000. There's not much different in them, and the farther we go down the road, the more expensive these quotes get. So these quotes will continue to just go up as the months go on without us making a decision. And it takes 18 months to 3 years to build an ambulance, so it'll be 3 years before we get a good ambulance here. And our 2012 Braun and a 2016 Horton, both those ambulances are good ambulances. They could last a little bit longer, but they're gonna be at the end of their life by the time we get the next ambulance, or one of them will at least be at end of life. The maintenance costs will continue to go up with those ambulances, so. The other thing right now is, we're collecting 1.9 mils on a 3.5 mil levy. It's a continuous levy. You never collect more than what you originally asked for, so we're collecting a lot less than what we could be collecting if we had newer funds or if it was continuously grown, so a renewable levy would be something that we potentially need to talk about. So like, for example, we're collecting $616,200 on our current levy. If we're collecting that 3.5 as is today, which we never will because you never can collect more than you asked for in 2006, we'd be collecting $1,013,000. So we're kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel. And then if you look at just the cost of things in the country, in the community, or that have gone up. So, and these numbers they're all over the place, but these are kind of the numbers. I've researched a couple of different numbers. Food and elementary and education is up 64%, gasoline's up 55%, eggs are up 43%, airfare's up 38%, baby food's up 30%, vegetables up 29%, electricity's up 28%, transportation's up 26%, et cetera, et cetera. So that's where I'm at with it. I also have 2 articles. I'm gonna leave them on the table. I want you guys to look at them. One's from 2020, when we started staffing. So when we started staffing, there was no plan for this staffing model to stay in place without additional funds or without some sort of new revenue system. We haven't been able to secure or figure out a new revenue system, so, it's been 5 years since we started staffing, and we haven't changed any of that revenue. And then the other article is an article, this was in Jeanette, Pennsylvania. A community of about 9,000 people. They had a large structure fire. They staff just like we do. So they staff two people on a fire engine or an ambulance. And unfortunately, it works when you're running EMS calls. It works great. But when you have a structure fire with people trapped and lives in danger, then that's when it becomes tragic. And this family lost 4 children and their father. I live in this community, and I said that last meeting. It's important to me that we have a functioning, well-funded and functioning fire department that can help my family if I need them. That's how passionate I am about this, and I think it's important that we all get on the same page with this. Because my family lives right up the road, and if my 7-year-old daughter is stuck in her second floor bedroom when the house is on fire, I want somebody there to be able to get her out. And that's all I have.
Thank you.
Yep, and the articles will be over here in the corner.
Thanks, Chief. I guess I have a question for Chris and Justin. Do you guys want to, I would propose that we have a work session here fairly shortly, and maybe we can follow that up with a couple days after that, a special meeting to just address finances, and what we need to keep moving this fire department forward. Throwing it out there.
Yeah.
We can schedule a work session.
Yeah.
In a special meeting. Wanna look at the calendar right now?
Next week, all right for you guys?
Yeah, I don't see it.
I would propose, Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday next week.
Quick look here if you don't mind. Well, Tuesday, we have zoning, right? Tuesday. So Monday or Wednesday would Monday probably works best for me.
Monday?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, what time?
6:30?
Yep.
How about me?
All right, now that's a work session, Chris?
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
For fire department. fund.
Yeah. Do we want to, schedule a special meeting after that?
We can.
Because we're not gonna be able to vote in the work session.
Right.
Right. Well, I mean, do we think we're gonna be ready to do something?
I don't
on
know,
Monday night?
I don't know.
Cause we can always discuss that and publish it after the work session, see kinda how that goes, you know, what we feel is a reasonable timeframe. We may get further in the work session and be able to just do something in short order.
Right.
Are you out of town a lot? or-
Yes, I'm gonna be out of town next Thursday for probably a week or so, 10 days maybe.
Okay. All right, at least we got the work session. All right, good.
Let's go from there.
Thanks.
So, Monday, the 10th, at 6:30. Okay. Anything else for fire?
I'm good.
Lieutenant Markham, please?
I don't have anything in addition to the monthly report.
You sure? It's so short.
Unless you have questions.
Well, I do have one thing, you know, and Lieutenant Markham and I talked today, you don't have to stand if you don't want to for this. One of the things that came up in reviewing the, documents that were provided by the auditor, and I'm not sure exactly how it got included in there, but was, an investigation that was done into security cameras, at the town hall, or at the town hall admin building complex. So I had reached out to Lieutenant Markham probably a week ago, to get any investigative work that they have done in the township, And unfortunately, in the last little over 2 years, the township's had Medina City PD do 5 investigations into different allegations and concerns. And we don't need to get into all the details of them, but the reason I bring it up is because not a single one of them was ever found to be founded or any wrongdoing or anything along those lines. And my biggest concern is, you know, we rely on the city PD to serve our residents, and to constantly tie them up on investigating things. I mean, we've had the conversation up here. There's no way to get away from the politics that are involved in running a township, and you're never gonna get away from it completely. But I feel like in reviewing these reports, it's pretty clear, you know, that we're asking the city police department to start entering into that arena, and it's not really fair to the city. It takes resources away from people that actually need it. And quite frankly, I mean, if I'm on their side, if I'm in their shoes, you know, it's something that's gonna give me pause the next time it comes up to renegotiate the contract, or whether they wanna continue to deal with us. So I would just ask the board, you know, if we can work to do a better job of, you know, managing our own drama and not bringing the police department into it.
Yeah, no kidding. I'll second.
That's all I had.
Biggest offender.
Thank you. Zoning, Sherry?
Oh my God, I'm gonna pee my pants.
May was a busy month. The last meeting we had, I discussed there was a property on Chippewa Road. I contacted the health department about it. On May 22nd, I received a letter from the health department. They had reached out to the homeowner, and everything has been cleaned up. Anybody that is familiar with that property on Chippewa Road, if you drive down Chippewa Road, much improvement. There was some sort of structure out near the road that looked like it was falling apart, falling down. It's gone, totally gone. So on May 17th, Lane Kessler from the health department went there. She said due to the fact that most of the solid waste had been removed, she was closing the investigation, so that's done.
It has not gone unnoticed. I've received several compliments for you from residents in Hunter's Run, thanking you. So,
That goes to the health department.
Well,
I'm not gonna take the credit for that.
fair enough, but just know it hasn't gone unnoticed.
Okay. In May, I wrote 20 zoning permits, and that's through May 31st, 2024. We collected fees of $6,706.19, with an estimated value of $3,558,892. Of those 20 permits, 8 of them are for brand new homes. On May 23rd, many people from both the Board of Zoning Appeals and the Zoning Commission attended at the University of Akron back there, a class on zoning laws and ethics training. And it was neat, because when I looked around, there was a lot of representatives from Lafayette Township, and I've gotten to know a lot of the zoning people. We were well represented, and what was really neat was there was a lot of our new people there. On May 14th, the Zoning Commission swore in a new alternate. He's here tonight, Nick Kittle. He got sworn in, and he was at that training too. Tomorrow, the Zoning Commission will be in this building. They're having a zoning work session at 6:30. On June 11th is their regular meeting, and then on June 18th will be Board of Zoning Appeals. It's going to be hearing 2 variances this month. On Palker Road, there's a lot of things happening on Palker Road. There's always things happening on Palker Road. On Palker Road, it's at the one parcel, the one that had the tent on it. I had told you at one of the last meetings that the property was sold. Well, that fell through. It fell through because the person who wanted to purchase it, they were gonna do like a land contract with the current owner of it. They wanted to put a mobile home on the property while they were building. And I said no. So they got upset, so they said no. So we're back to square one. The parcel's not sold. I drove by there and the grass is pretty high right now, but the tents are gone, the platform's gone, the porta potty's gone, it's just got high grass. The Palker Road property, the one that, Palker, the younger Palker son is living at, I had a lot of contact with them. I've been over to the house, their garage, you can put 2 cars in the garage now, the garage is clean. There's still stuff out front, it's not as bad as it was.
Well, that doesn't, I mean, I know it's not as bad, but if I had that much trash in my front yard, you'd be coming after me. They can't get in their garage even, it's all piled in front of the garage.
Okay, but when I went there, the day that I went there, and I've been out there more than once, you might have even seen me
I've
out there
seen
a
you,
couple
yeah,
times,
I've
okay? I
seen
take
you.
different vehicles there, okay?
Yeah.
Well, I went in with Junior and with Senior, and I walked into the garage, and that was a day where there wasn't stuff in front of it. They had
Yeah.
a pickup truck or something parked in front of it,
Right.
but there was no debris.
Right.
And I kinda scolded them because they had a pile of debris they were burning in the front yard. And
Yeah.
I'm like, we have like a burn ban, like you can't do that, but it was after 6 PM.
Mhm.
Hey, sure, real quick, let me interject. Mike Lyons was here for, what, the April meeting? Do you know where we stand on the title searches?
He sent them back, I believe. Did he not copy everybody?
I didn't see anything on it.
I'll forward them to you guys.
Okay.
That's something we definitely can initiate again.
Alright, we'll take a look at it.
It's funny because they're asking me how to get rid of things like their boat. Well, their boat is fiberglass, so he's gonna get some kind of saw. I told you that at the last meeting, and he still hasn't done it yet, and he's gonna cut it up into like little bits.
Yeah, they pulled it out of the woods it was in, but it's sitting in the driveway now. But it's the garbage, I mean, it's the trash out in front of the
I
house.
drove by there today, I saw it.
Yeah, it's horrible, and I know you're working hard at it, but this has been going on for 3 years already. But you've made the most progress, so.
Well, I understand your frustration. If that was my neighbor too, I'd worry about vermin and things coming into my yard, and that's dogs, I wouldn't like that. The other parcel on Falker Road that other people are familiar with, I've talked to that individual, he came into the office last week, and I talked to him. He's living on a parcel that he really shouldn't be living on, but that's been going on for some time. He's looking at rents that are affordable for him. I received a letter from his neighbor complaining about things, but from what I've discussed with a couple of different people, including other zoning inspectors, I don't get specific about what the property is, I just describe the issue that we have. Some of that is like a civil issue between the 2 neighbors that's going on. And the zoning inspector doesn't get involved into the civil issues. I also received a complaint, and I did talk to Justin about this. The second property on Columbia Road, I received a call from a resident complaining the grass was waist high, was really tall. So I went out there last Wednesday, I drove out there, and I wasn't even gonna risk, it was raining, I wasn't even gonna risk pulling in the driveway. I mean, the grass, I'm tall and it was tall. So I did tell Justin about it, and I wasn't sure if I should call the health department on that, I wasn't sure what I should do. From what I had heard from the resident that called about it, she said the parcel was sold a year ago, and the lady who owned the parcel lives right next door to her on Lafayette Road. She said a grandson or something bought it, and once he got inside the house and saw how bad it was, and that's one of those things that made me go, he's a grandson, wouldn't he know the condition of the inside of the house? That it's in such poor shape, he says it needs to be just demolished. So I'm not sure if the building department should be contacted. Justin, you and I both talked about that a little
Yeah,
bit.
I mean, the difficulty is long grass is not. something
Zoning
we-
doesn't govern the grass.
And so unless there's a reason to do some sort of wellness check, unless there's a reason to be concerned, I mean.
Yeah, there's
not a
2
whole
vehicles
lot.
in the driveway too, but I didn't get close enough to see if they had license plates or anything on it, 'cause it was
But
raining.
outside of, I mean, there's nothing visually from the outside that makes the structure look unsafe or that there's any type of issues, so. I mean, unless it gets to that point,
So I haven't done anything else on
Not
that
anything,
parcel,
yeah.
but I just told Justin about it, so I'm trying to stay on top of things when it comes to zoning and let him know, so he knows what I'm doing at all times. I do it on Wednesdays if I can, so if I have office hours on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, I'm there from 7 to 3. But on Wednesday, there's an overlap because our admin is there. So that's a good day for me. Somebody wants to get a voucher for me to disappear and go out and drive around and look around the township. I'm not gonna go around with a sketch pad and binoculars, I'm not gonna do that. I need you people to tell me when you see something, because I'm not gonna do that. Does anybody have any questions? Okay.
Thank you, Sherry.
Thanks, Sherry.
Let's move. Public participation was gonna be up more towards the beginning with the zoning application, but, let's move forward with public participation.
Can't hear.
Public participation, sorry.
Public participation?
Yes. Mark Beach. Wait a minute.
Mark Frederick, 6146 West Smith Road, Medina, Ohio, 44256. United States of America, continent North America, planet Earth, Milky Way solar system. It ain't hard to find me. I don't have to hide from anybody. You know, every month I come here, and I am amazed at the fresh stupidity I find. Last month, it was Ty's turn. He actually started a vote to place $400,000 of your money, township money, into Westfield. And thanks to a report that I received about public records request, there was no depository contract there. There is a difference between having a contract and planning to have a contract. An application is merely a plan. So, as far as I know, the money hasn't been transferred, so it hasn't been illegal yet. But you know what? I really think that we need to keep bringing out Lafayette Township's dirty laundry.
Mark, can you put those away, please? That's
Because-
disgusting. Honestly, that's disgusting. Put them away.
Because as long as we see the dirty laundry, we can find out transparency, what's going on in our township. Because you know what? If we all sit back like ostriches, put our head in the sand, we're never gonna know what's going on. So far, the real problem I've seen is this money. And it hasn't escalated to be a major problem yet. But there's a lot of stuff going on that we need to keep our eyes on. And you know me, I'm watching you guys. I'd like to see it. Well, I don't know where you're gonna put that money and whether you're gonna have more bidding on that 400,000. I hope you do and follow the laws on that you do have a depository contract. As far as I can tell right now, when they're buying cameras and they're paying for all kind of stuff, you know what? They're just throwing township money around. A lot of it. And that's a shame, because that's our tax money. And if we don't speak up and say something and do something, it's gonna continue. And I think we need to put a lid on it. And hopefully we won't have any more dirty laundry.
Anyone else?
It's a shame that money's not real, though. I would even, make the effort to pick it up if it was real, but.
I hope the cop will give you a ticket for littering.
You take that up with the zoning inspector. Alice Strojan, I live at 3003 Hood Road, Medina, Ohio. I have a letter that I want to read, and it's addressed to Laura Rubensall, our fiscal officer. I have submitted to OPERS my request to start receiving my earned retirement on May 8, 2024. On May 13th of 2024, I called OPERS to confirm their receipt of same and if all necessary information was provided. They indicated everything was provided and they will process. On May 15th, 2024, I received a letter from OPERS advising it was approved and a last date of employment verification request was sent to Lafayette Township via the PERS internal email system to complete the process. On June 3rd, 2024, I again contacted OPERS to find out if Lafayette Township had verified the December 4th, 2023 date was my last date of employment and was advised they have not. Excuse me. OPERS only needs verification of the December 4th, 2023 retirement date. This should not require hours of research or paperwork. This matter needs to be corrected by the close of business tomorrow, June 4th, 2024, and please provide acknowledgement of compliance to this request. The township's continual attempts to deny my just due is unacceptable. Have you gotten that email from them and have you responded to it?
I have not gotten the email, and you said it was an online message.
It was
so-
an online message through the OPERS system,
Okay, so
and you would have gotten that, correct?
when I log into OPERS, sure, but I pay OPERS once a month, usually by the 5th. So today's the 3rd, so no, I have not logged into OPERS to pay them, so I would not have gotten that message yet. I
Well,
will
they
log
said-
in this evening, and I will do that for you, and I will send you a screenshot that it has been completed.
And that's all I ask, because there's no reason to wait a whole month to just type in a simple date. I know you're busy, but just typing in a date is not what I.
Alice,
call
I
time.
don't log into the system but once a month to pay.
Well, maybe you should log in more frequently.
To do what?
Check if there's anything that you need to do.
You're the only person.
Pardon me?
Doesn't it suck when people don't do their job?
It sure does. Not that I would be aware of it, because, you know,
You don't
I
have a job.
do my job. Oh, I do have a job, at places that appreciate me.
There you go.
Let me see, which one, this is for you.
Oh 5 months you had that.
That one's for Laura, then I might be giving Laura yours. Anyway, I got enough copies here.
No,
Which one did I
no,
get?
that's not.
You got copies.
She,
So in other words, you will take care of that.
gentleman, waited
Thank you.
5 months for a building.
Also, Alice, no one is
Yeah.
trying to deny you anything. I mean, you got our correspondence regarding the letter that was submitted last meeting, correct?
Me too.
I have not gotten it. I believe my attorney got it. I haven't had a chance to read or look at it. But all I gotta say is, when you purify the facts or don't relate the actual facts, doesn't mean that you're correct. I've got written copies that say different.
I don't know what you have, but I'm gonna tell you this. I talked to the folks in Columbus on employment.
We've got counsel.
Huh? I don't know, I can't hear it either.
We have counsel.
Those
So what?
you can contact us on.
Alright. I was told that the reason your unemployment claim was denied had nothing to do with what the township did, nothing to do with it at all. They
Well, I
told-
have it in writing that it did, and I also was told also by police people in
We
Columbus.
were gonna discuss that.
Yes, go ahead and discuss it.
We were gonna discuss that with you this evening. I'm Richard Marco. And we were gonna discuss it, but then I got a letter from your attorney today, so I can no longer talk to you. I have to talk through your attorney. But hopefully, we'll be able to arrive at getting some compensation for Alice, from her unemployment.
Okay, anybody else? Sir?
Hi, my name is Steve Demonsky. I live at 6755 Lake Road. I have a question for you guys. We've been asking you this for the last 6 to 12 months, and it just doesn't seem you seem to be taking it seriously. A lot of us in this room cannot hear a word you guys are saying up here. Why can't we get some microphones? If it takes a citizen to resolve this, I will go out and buy the microphones if you agree to use them. Something has to be done. Now me, I talk loud. I'm sure everybody can hear me. But that's not the case for everybody. And I talk loud because I have bad ears. So I don't know what it's going to take to get you guys to take this seriously. You realize after every meeting I have to go home and watch the video so I can hear what you guys said. I just think it's something that should be addressed.
Yeah, okay.
Well,
Okay,
it's funny,
thank
they
you.
got a $700 camera real quick, didn't they?
Anybody else?
Just saying.
Ma'am?
Me.
Okay,
Okay, I'll wait.
you're next.
I'm next?
Who's next?
Who?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
I hand out. Oh, wait, you don't want that. Sorry, I took you.
For everybody.
Hello, my name is Linda Collins, and I live at 129 Shady Slope in Chippewa Lake, of course. One of the things today I want to talk about the banking issue that we talked about last month. But before I do, I wanted to talk about the minutes for April's meeting. They're still not posted online. I looked last night at 10 o'clock, and they're still not there. When can we expect to see them?
I don't have control of that's not me.
Who does?
Sharon.
We'll get them up.
Okay, all right. And so today, regardless of what my shirt says, we're all here because we live in Lafayette Township and we all care about Lafayette. Last week, I asked 3 times to hear the numbers on the banking situation that I passed out. And so this time I kind of like made a spreadsheet for everybody to follow around so that you can see. The proposal to go to Westfield Bank, once I got into the numbers, didn't look as bad as I thought it was. If we were to deposit the $1,365,000, we would lose interest on the first $400,000. That would net us interest bearing at $965, which would generate $48,251 a year in interest. It's a good chunk of change. I was pro Huntington, but when I ran the numbers at 3% with no minimum deposit, we were only going to net $40,950 per year. So, and moving on to Star Ohio, if we were able to put all of our funds, the $1,365,000 in there, we would net $76,305 per year in interest. But unfortunately, we have to have operating funds. So you really can't put all your money in one basket, or all your eggs in one basket. So a suggestion would be a dual banking option. And that is to utilize the no minimum at Huntington, where I'm not really sure what our operating expenses are per month. So I just picked the $400,000 that we were not going to get interest on anyway, threw that in Huntington, and that would net us $1,000 a month in interest. Throwing the $965,000 in at 5.59 interest would net us $53,945 in interest. You take that money, if you follow my sheet, and you add the Star interest of the $53,000, the Huntington interest of $12,000, we would be earning $65,945 a year in interest. We need to make our money work for us. I mean, we work hard for it. I don't know about you guys, but I work for every damn dime I get. And I know that the rest of us do too. So, taking out the Westfield, if we would go to Westfield, you'd negate that $48,000.
we would net an additional $17,700. So I'm hoping, can the board answer the question on do we have a depository note with them? Is that a yes or no?
It's not set up yet, I don't think,
So we don't have the note.
nothing's set up with them yet.
Okay, so is there a chance to reconsider our thought process on this?
Well, first of all, absolutely, but this is awesome, Linda, by the way. I think people are misunderstanding, there's no interest at 400,000, I'm not saying one way or the other, either way. We're just trying to protect the township's money, but Westfield Bank, even with that being said, it's still 48,000 versus Huntington's, let's call it 41,000, so it's 7,000 more. So if you did your double banking over here, you could add another 7,000 just using Westfield's, right?
No.
If we put 400, I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead.
If you put 400,000 at Westfield, we get nothing. And then the 965.32 additional would yield you 53. So if you went with Westfield and Star, you'd get 53,945. If you go with Huntington and Star, you get 65,945.
Right.
I mean, this is a fantastic representation. of
I needed
exactly
to see the
discussion we had.
numbers. Like I said, I was rather surprised myself when they all netted out. And I needed to put the numbers in black and white. And I know it's hard to follow along, especially when you can't hear.
Right.
So, like I said, I'm hoping that we can make a change for the township and do something more fiscally responsible with our funds.
Well, before we take the next one, I mean, I'll make the motion again. I think we keep our banking relationship with Huntington and use Star Ohio as our overflow.
No, I'm not ready to decide on that yet. But I appreciate Linda's
Somebody's
notes.
got an interest somewhere.
Yep, big time.
We've already had that discussion.
Anybody else?
What?
Excuse me, don't they have to, excuse me, did you just make a motion?
Yeah, there was no second, so it just dies. Sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. I'm going back to the audit report. If I understand correctly, was this Laura's first audit report?
Yes.
Okay.
No. No.
What do you mean?
I was
2020?
understanding it was her first audit,
I
full
was
audit.
elected in 2020. 2020 and 2021 are the first audit.
It was the first one that
was the first one where you were
but she
fiscal
would've been
officer.
through
You
the
went through
audit
another audit process.
2 years ago prior, because she would have been the fiscal officer in office when we did the 18 and 19.
Okay,
Plus,
so-
there was the audit from the fire.
This was your
district,
first
which
audit
already
process?
completed. So because we have two different sets of books.
Okay.
So it was the
That was
first
my
audit period
question.
that was,
Right.
she was being audited.
Okay,
but it
and
wasn't
that
the
was
first one
all
that she
your
went through.
numbers then,
No.
from that time?
No,
From
I
that
was
they-
elected, I took office April 1st, 2020. So 2020, there were no less than 3 or 4 fiscal officers in Lafayette Township
Okay.
helping and, because of COVID.
Okay,
So 2020, 2021.
okay, so this was
Yes.
of your numbers? Okay. I just thought it a little unfair to her to be brought to attention the way you did with a 100-page report slapped down on the table. Is this not something that you discussed together as a team?
No, I was excluded from the entire process. I had to get them, I had to make a public records request, just like everybody else here would, to get them from the auditor.
It just seemed a little unprofessional the way it was handled, in my opinion.
Okay, that's fine. I
That
appreciate
was it, yeah. To put her on the carpet like that in front of everybody seemed very unprofessional. And didn't seem like the four of you are working as a team.
I would agree with that.
Okay, that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Kathy. Anyone else?
I got a quick comment.
Sir?
Yes.
Wayne Harris, 5309 Columbia Road. I'm gonna change my comment. I also had a comment about the bank situation, but I don't have nearly the statistics or the confetti to keep up. So I'll table that. I did have a quick question for the fire report. I know that there were some quotes for some new ambulances, and the numbers are pretty spicy. They were, and I know we have a, what do you say, 2012 and a 2016 ambulance that, and I'm wondering, in the calculus, I know we're scraping the bottom of the barrel, as the words were. What happens? Let's say we get a new ambulance. What happens to the old? Are they sold? Are they sold? And I don't know who buys them. But if, assuming that somebody buys them, there's two things. One, we'll get money for that, and that should offset some of the cost. I have no idea what that will be. And are we taking that into account? But secondly, if somebody is buying them, that means there's a market for them. Are we looking at that same market for new equipment? For like a used one, a refurb one, or something that we have to get brand new? They're mostly rhetorical questions. I don't really
So
need.
we looked at refurbing the current ambulances. We're looking to go to gasoline. The diesel engines we have are not made for our type of service. Diesel engines are made for a Cleveland type of service where they're running constantly.
Right.
They're running hot. So we're spending, we've had to regen the engines 3 times this year, I believe, just because we're not running them hot enough. They're gumming up the DEF, which is the new emission stuff, is
Right.
gumming the engines up. So buying a new gasoline engine ambulance is, or gasoline engine ambulance is what we kind of are looking at.
Okay.
We can't take the current box and put it on so for example, it's an F-450 or F-550 chassis or a van chassis ambulance. We can't take the current boxes we have and modify to those gasoline type of engines.
Okay.
We can modify the current ambulances, we could get a new chassis, but we'd run into the same problems. And it would be about $100,000, and I kind of talked about that with the rep. It'd be about $100,000 off if we took the current box, where the patient compartment is,
Right.
and put it on a new chassis.
Right. So, I mean, my question was, are we even looking in that market? It sounds like we might be, rather than just, only looking at brand new.
Yeah.
And, okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. Correspondence. Brookdale MHP expansion.
Shortly after the meeting last month, one of the residents over on Deerview reached out to me because the mobile home park on Route 42 Brookdale, they own a parcel behind their current park. The current park has roughly 250 homes in it. They've got a proposal in front of the city of Medina to expand south, adding another 54 units to that, which butts right up against Lafayette Township. So I attended the city planning meeting with the residents. The original proposal was pretty bare on any type of buffering or protection for our residents. So I went just to support kind of their initiative in front of the planning council, which was good because the planning commission got to hear our residents speak, and then hear their concerns since both the developer and I've met with Andrew Dutton at City Planning, and it sounds like we've been able to, through the efforts of the residents, be able to get some buffering for those people. So the final proposal, or the next proposal, is in front of the Planning Commission next Thursday. So again, the residents and I will be attending just to see if we can get that finalized. But unfortunately, what this will mean is there is going to be an expansion for a left turn only lane on Route 42 in front of that park. It's going to be 250 feet, so they'll be widening Route 42 at the developer's expense. But that'll be something that'll obviously impact our residents on what is that? The west side of the road, east side of the road. North side, south, north.
North.
North, yeah, thank you. And then again, you know, they'll be developing, one of the challenges is there's a 30-foot utility easement on that, western edge of the property, so they can't do anything as far as screening, fencing, or trees. So I'm working with the residents just to see if they would concede to allow the developer to put some tree screening or something along those lines actually on their property. But, you know, we're working through that. But I just wanted to update in case anybody else was interested. They obviously reach out to the property owners that are adjoining that, but it'll obviously impact everybody with extra traffic and whatnot. So.
What about the water issues? I mean,
They're expanding the current retention pond, and their claim, I mean, you know how the development process works, the city engineers look at it, they're stating that this will actually improve the water situation that they currently have, because everything will be updated from what it was done when that park was first put in, what, 40 years ago probably? I mean, that thing's been there for as long as I can remember, so. They had recently changed that from an industrial zoned area to allow them to put a mobile home park, expand the mobile home park, but it sounds like that's where they're at.
Was the developer interested in inverting the roads and keeping the water?
We haven't received a commitment back from them on that, but he did say that they talked to the engineer about it that's doing the actual building. You know, the contact that we've had has been with the actual owners of the property. And so far, they've been agreeable to some of the some of the homeowners requests. So it's been a positive process, at least to date. We'll see, you know how that goes, we'll see what we can actually finalize.
They have a time frame?
Not really. You know, this was first started to be talked about 2 years ago, so, you know, I think they're still, you know, like I said, trying to put the final touches on it. I think what I was able to gather is, you know, that widening of 42 that's at the developer's expense is gonna be pricey. And I think that's kind of been something that they were trying to find a way around. So, you know how would be westbound. So turning left into the park, but the ODOT's requiring it be a 250-foot turn lane, so they'll have to widen 300 feet probably in there, maybe more than that because of the speed. So, you know, again, as they're trying to, I don't wanna like guess, but like they didn't see, you know, that seemed like that was probably a price tag that's got them reviewing their project, so. We'll see where it goes. Again, like I said, they're supposed to present at the City Planning Commission meeting on Thursday the 16th, I believe it is. Is that the right date?
And one last
13th.
question,
Yeah,
Justin,
it's
is 54 their max expansion, or is there extra, like?
From the designs, I don't think there's any way they could get more than 54, and if they wanted to.
Just trying to see if they're gonna make up for the cost of the turn lanes.
No, I don't think they have the space to be able to do it, because the drawings that they presented pretty well maxed out, you know, the developable area, and then, they still have some green space requirements they have to do. So.
Right, yeah.
Just a question on that, you said those houses were on 42?
Well, they're
This
not on
development
42,
that they're putting
the
in?
entrance, it's the Brookdale Mobile Home Park on 42.
Okay.
Just outside of the township.
This may be like too early to ask you this question, but when they put all these new houses in, where are they drawing their water from?
City. It's
From Medina?
That's in the city.
Oh, okay.
That's in the
Okay.
city, yeah.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Township domain.
Township domain. Yeah, the .gov process, changed from 30 days to 60 days to the customer service email that I received is that, yeah, they'll get to it when they get to it. They've got either inundated with requests for .gov websites. I guess we started a trend, but we're still keeping an eye on that. The only real update on it is, you know, I've got an old communication between the township and the prosecutor's office, you know, that LAFTN SHIP at neo.twcbc.com. I mean, that was Shirley Bailey's email. I mean, it is what it is there, but I mean, outside of getting access to her from that, I reached out to the registrar again, and because of the way that it was registered, you know, there really isn't any documentation that we're gonna be able to provide. So I don't know if we wanna reach out to the prosecutor's office and see if maybe they can intervene on our behalf, because as it stands right now, you know, we're kind of at a roadblock where the .com website, we're not gonna be able to retain ownership after next spring.
Chris, I would agree to have Justin take point on that and go through the prosecutor.
See if the prosecutor's office can help us with that.
I'm good with
Okay.
that.
Alright.
Ryan Road, 162 traffic study.
ODOT email from last Friday. I just checked with the team on their review, and I apologize for the delay. I'm told that this time we will have the completed study and recommendations to you sometime next week. And that was from Jeremy Adato at 3:07 PM on Friday the 31st. So, hopefully at sometime this week I'll be able to share that survey online, and then again at the next meeting.
Petty cash.
That was Sharon.
Did she talk to you about that, Laura, by any chance?
She just said she talked to Justin about it, that it was for like permits and stuff.
Oh.
Yeah, but I mean, Laura and I discussed it. I don't think we're ready to, I don't think we have any interest to put anything forward at this point right now.
Okay.
Nor do I.
Public records policy.
The management letter that we received for the Lafayette Township Fire and Rescue District, from last February highlighted, that the district did not have an approved public records policy on file as required, nor is there any evidence that such policies have been adopted. I think we were operating off of the public records policy for the township and just applying it to the other. But as we've done with a lot of the other resolutions, it makes sense to have one for each. So I took the opportunity just to look at what we have posted. I had emailed you guys all a copy. I've got more copies if you need them. But what I did is the only change from the current policy that we have is under the section for copying and mailing costs. We had a set charge for a compact disc, and I don't think anybody uses CDs for data anymore. So, you know, in just looking at it, for large files or large data for public records requests, we've usually required that people bring in a flash drive or provide something. But by doing that, it's gotta be new, it's gotta be sealed. There's always the chance that we're putting flash drives into computers and devices that we haven't had control over. My recommendation, the only change that we make to the current policy be that, we can buy bulk flash drives, let Laura store them in the records room. When somebody has a request, you know, we charge them $5 per flash drive, which will cover our costs. And then whatever they request, you know, if it requires 2 flash drives, then they pay for 2, 3. But then that way, Laura doesn't have to wait for somebody to bring something in, drop something off, worry about where it's been, you know, anything along those lines.
Right.
Outside of that, it's the exact same policy, one for the township, one for the fire district, and then that would bring us into compliance. So I would,
Well, I still have discussion, if that's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate you doing this, cause you're right, on the audit. So if you go to response timeframe, first page, you said if, not you, but if feasible, let me just start from the beginning of that paragraph. It is the goal of the Lafayette Township that all requests for public records should be acknowledged in writing, or if feasible, satisfied within 3 business days following the office's receipt of the request. Well, ORC is in reasonable time. Was this, I mean,
well,
Laura, you're the one that does 99% of them. I mean, are you
yeah,
withholding
and actually,
3?
you know what, thank you for that clarification, you're right, that was one of the discrepancies, one of the few discrepancies between the, Attorney General's proposal and what we currently have in place. So, thank you, you are right, that was a difference, but here's the policy that was, you know, basically copied from, and it's the one that the state of Ohio put together, yeah.
Yeah, I think if feasible kind of strikes it, I mean, it just makes it a little more wishy-washy. I think in reasonable time, I think for the most part, other than some difficult ones, it's practiced.
Right, so I mean, I guess what do you,
I mean, I just would strike that paragraph, just to save any confusion of 3 days. And then people are gonna be, oh, I need it in 3 days, well, it's feasible, is it not feasible, you know what I mean? I mean, it just seems a little redundant. Chris, you know, any comments on that, or is it concerned?
I mean, this is the state's example. Yeah. And I get it. On the other hand, we're putting Laura on the hook for something, but.
yeah, but it's just, if
Right,
people,
if
I think
feasible,
Laura
but
typically
it's-
gets them within 3
Yeah,
days
and I think
unless
that's-
there's, if she needs, I mean, I know you sent some for opinion, but, you know, if she needs a legal opinion for it, that's, you know, that falls in the, that's an excuse, that's an understandable reason for
Right.
not complying in 3 days.
It's not a guarantee, it's a
Right.
goal of the
Yeah,
township. so
no, it's the only thing that caught my attention, everything else looks good.
Well, here's 2 printed copies of your pay, I'm presenting them, for approval. I would move to approve both of those.
I'll second. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Just to be clear, Lafayette Township public record request and Lafayette Township fire district.
Public records request, yep.
For the record.
Investment policy.
Yep. Another one that was in the, management letter, and I think Ty, or Chris, you had mentioned at the last meeting.
Right.
One of the things that we owed for Stroh, Ohio was an investment policy. The OTA, we have, I had Laura, take a look, and she was able to locate, we do have investment policies, or at least, you know, investment guidance, that's been put together previously, but I think it was based on the trustees and the fiscal officer at the time, it looks like it was probably passed in 2004, 2005. Working through OTA training and their recommended policies, they actually refer to Montville Township as a great model policy. So I had talked with Mary Pawlowski, she sent me a copy of theirs, and, you know, again, it's nothing too crazy, it's a straight copy of Montville's. I sent that out a couple weeks ago, or probably a week and a half ago, and I would propose that we adopt those investment policies, again, both for the township and for the fire district, and then that way we can, you know, have the representatives from each of the banks or from Stroh, Ohio acknowledge these.
Yeah, just in the second sentence, on both of them, just a typo, investments of all.
Of all, oh, yeah.
A
Well,
little-
so I got some fat fingers, you're right.
Alright, so a little typo there, no big deal, but let's just, for the standards of care, if you wanna, you don't have to read it, but talking about number 1, prudence, and number 2, ethics and conflicts of interest.
Yeah, prudence.
Just so it's on the record, and we understand, the
Prudence.
writing.
The standard of prudence to be used by investment officials shall be the prudent person. Standard and shall be applied in the context of managing an overall portfolio. Investment officers acting in accordance with written procedures and this investment policy and exercising due diligence shall be relieved of personal responsibility for individual securities, credit risk, or market price changes, provided deviations from expectations are reported in a timely fashion and the liquidity and the sale of securities are carried out in accordance with the terms of this policy. The prudent person standard states that investments shall be made with judgment and care under circumstances then prevailing, with a person of prudence, discretion, and intelligence exercised in the management of their own affairs, not for speculation but for investment, considering the probable safety of their capital as well as the probable income to be derived. And then the second point to yours was ethics and conflicts of interest. Officers and employees involved in the investment process shall refrain from personal business activity that can conflict with the proper execution and management of the investment program, or that can impair the ability to make impartial decisions. Employees and investment officials shall disclose any material interests in financial institutions with which they conduct business. They shall further disclose any personal financial investment positions that could be related to the performance of the investment portfolio. Employees and officers shall refrain from undertaking personal investment transactions with the same individual with whom business is conducted on behalf of the township.
Yep, And this is the same one that Montville's been, well, I think they signed theirs in 21 or something, so
Yeah.
it's fairly recent.
And like I said, if you, you know, the OTA presentation down at, you know, at the annual conference, the person doing the fiscal policies and recommendations to the board actually highlighted Montville's as, you know, as an example to model years after, so I figure can't get much better endorsement than that.
Right. Yeah, that's good.
Did you make an official motion too?
I would move to approve both of those and then obviously record them with our financial institutions.
I will second. All those in favor, aye?
Aye?
Aye.
I
Pose same sign?
approving the typo.
Yeah. And I'll get those restated.
Yep.
Alright. Engine brake resolution.
Been a significant part of our meetings the last couple months. I do, and again, everybody should have received a copy of this, but I will read it here. You guys all have a copy?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
The Board of Trustees, I have a resolution to propose. The Board of Trustees of Lafayette Township, Medina County, Ohio met in regular session at the Lafayette Township Safety Services Building on Monday, June 3rd, 2024, with the following members present: Chris O'Neill, Ty Fullerton, and Justin Paroli. Trustee Paroli made a motion to adopt the following resolution. Resolution prohibiting engine retarders and brakes and dispensing of the second reading. Whereas the Board of Trustees, the Board of Lafayette Township, Medina County, Ohio, the Township, has received complaints from Township residents regarding the objectionable use of engine retarders and brakes, principally by commercial trucks, which results in audible crackling or chattering noise. Whereas the board finds the use of engine retarders and brakes disturbs the public peace and general welfare, and whereas it is the desire of the board to prohibit the use of engine retarders and brakes on vehicles within the unincorporated area of Lafayette Township in accordance with sections 50571A and 4513-221E4 of the Ohio Revised Code as follows. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Trustees of Lafayette Township, Medina County, Ohio, by authority of sections 505.17A and 4513-221E4, the Ohio Revised Code as follows. Section 1, the use of engine retarders and brakes on vehicles within the township is hereby prohibited with the exception of public safety vehicles as defined in section 451101 of the Ohio Revised Code, and 2, cases of extreme emergency. Section 2, the township fiscal officer shall forward a copy of the resolution to the Ohio Department of Transportation and request them to post and maintain no engine brake signs at proper locations within the township. Section 3, the board hereby authorizes the purchase of no engine brake signs as recommended by the service director and/or ODOT, and the supply of said signs to ODOT, which shall install the signs at proper locations within the township to advise drivers of vehicles. Section 4, whoever violates the provisions of this resolution shall have committed a traffic violation, and a penalty shall be imposed as provided in section 50517E of the Ohio Revised Code. Section 5, the board hereby finds and determines that all formal actions relative to the passage of this resolution were taken in an open meeting of this board, and that all deliberations of this board and its committees, if any, which resulted in formal action were taken in meetings open to the public in full compliance with applicable legal requirements, including section 121.22 of the Ohio Revised Code. Section 6, the resolution shall take effect at the earliest period allowed by law. First reading was today, second reading was dispensed with, and it's effective June 3rd, 2024.
All right, well, first of all, I appreciate the effort that you put to doing this. So let me ask you your question in section 1 where it says cases of extreme emergency, because I know you had some concerns with the 2 hills that we have in the township. So I guess maybe the question might be for Lieutenant Markham. Cases of extreme, I mean, if a semi has got to slam their brakes, they got to slam their brakes.
Yeah, I don't think anybody has, everybody understands that piece of it, and I think that would be something that, the way that the resolution is written, the discretion would be held by the officer, just like so many other citations. Because again, that's what we're talking about, right? It's empowering the signs will go up if adopted, and it'll be up to law enforcement to enforce.
Lieutenant, any issues with that? Do you need more verbiage on that?
No, none at all.
How would you handle that? I mean,
like, their brakes went out and they had to hit the
You guys have I'm sorry, not to cut you, but you have no engine brakes restrictions in the city, correct?
Correct.
So, and your officers are probably well equipped to handle those types of situations there. I don't see it being any different out here, do you?
No, I don't. I don't see an issue with it.
Okay, good,
Were you
good.
referencing 501-17 or 71?
Is that another typo? No, you're, yeah, actually, and that is why. 17. Yep. Where do we need to?
Right up above
The
it,
first one?
the last whereas is
Yep.
17.
And I'm good with this too.
Okay.
The question I have is, ODOT has to approve this, correct? Or when we talked last meeting and discussed it, we kind of focused on that stretch of 42 from roughly Spencer Lake down to what? Westfield Road or Friendsville, I don't remember exactly what it was on the south side.
Correct.
But this is going to be, we're
This
attempting
would be
to
all in
implement
one,
it
yes.
township-wide. Do we think that that's going to impact whether or not ODOT is favorable?
I do not, and the reason that I say that I don't think it will is my conversations with them, the verification process, as far as like for them to approve it, is that we have a written resolution, and that any of the state routes, you get one section. So, to your point, we could do Westfield Road to the city limits. We could do the entire stretch of 42. What you couldn't do is you couldn't say Lodi, from the Lodi entrance to Lafayette to Richardson's Farm, and then Westfield to the city. You couldn't break it up like that.
One stretch.
Which is why, in looking at it, especially with the carve out for emergency situations, I figured the starting point was just
Yeah.
blanket. If
And I like that.
somebody wants to amend it or recommend an amendment to it to restrict the area, we can do that. We just have to, on any of the state routes where ODOT's gonna be involved, it has to be one section. They're just not gonna put up
Yeah.
on, off, like, it's either, once they're restricted for that period.
Did you happen to ask Montville if they carved out the extreme?
I don't think they carved anything out. Looking where they're, oh, you mean whether they have that in there? I did not look at Montville's resolution, the ODOT, the engine brake resolution was actually, modeled after Miami Township in Milford, Ohio.
No, I think that covers our concerns.
Yeah, I do too.
I think residential wise, but then also the drivers as well, so. Cause I think each one that spoke says, hey, if I got a hammer, I'm hammering, right, so.
And I think everybody understands that, and I think if nothing else, we owe it to the residents to make a decision on it one way or another.
Yeah, I will second the resolution. Roll call vote?
Crowley, yes?
Fullerton, yes.
O'Neill, yes. We'll make those.
Yeah, I'll get those typed out before we sign everything up.
Lastly, resolution, and I guess it doesn't matter, we had one number 13 and we didn't number that previous one.
Well, that's why I left the numbers
So,
off, I didn't put them on
So
before.
we'll name that one 14. This one's already
The
13.
one for Ty was 13 already?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, glad you put it on there. Accepting modifications to Medina County Thoroughfare Plan, proposed project list as recommended by the Medina Area Transportation Task Force.
Yeah, so resolution 13/2024 for Lafayette Township is accepting modification to the Medina County Thoroughfare Plan proposed project list as recommended by the Medina Area Transportation Task Force. So basically, if everyone could just visualize Route 3 and 162, the old Crum Farm, he still owns it, but he's been trying to sell it forever. However, many moons ago, they had designed a thoroughfare road at the end of Grovewood, which is in Lafayette Township, to go through the Crum Farm and come out at Route 3. So Mr. Crum's been having issues selling his property to developers. No one wants to pay that big money to put in those thick thoroughfare roads. So the Transportation Task Force voted to agree to get rid of that thoroughfare and give development opportunities for that property. So with that being said, Medina County Commissioners approved resolution, Montville Township has, City of Medina has, just because they're touching the project as well. And what they'll end up doing at the end of Grovewood is putting a turnaround in. So a part of the road will go north, part of it will go south, so an emergency vehicle or a road department can turn around, bigger trucks can turn around and get out. So this resolution is just to approve the thoroughfare being canceled out.
The only, as I say, the only thing I see on it, and I don't know, maybe it's just kinda the way they always put a carve out in here, is the addition, cause I know they're removing bullet points 32 and 33.
Yep.
You know, which obviously, you know, like you said, Grovewood, that's the Bennington Point development for people that aren't familiar. And they've been kind of fearful of that cut through forever. I did notice though that the addition was address needed connections for permanent turnaround. So it seems like they still gave themselves an out if they wanna connect Grovewood through, just not to the same level.
Well, it wouldn't go all the way through, but the
But they
talk
could
was
extend it
in the
potentially
vote,
past that.
well, they could, but just to get, their park owns property right there, too.
Okay.
County parks. So, and it's, if you look at the typo map, putting a cul-de-sac in would just be astronomical in price, so they decided to do the turnarounds, but yeah, I don't see them expanding that at all.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, it's definitely a step, I think it's a step in the right direction, it's good for the residents. I would just like to have seen them been a little bit more definitive that like, hey, we're just gonna cap this off, cause I know that's what those, I don't wanna speak for everybody, but everybody that I talked to in that development, they definitely did not want, you know, through fair traffic coming through there, and who would? I don't blame them.
Right, and the cost of that goes to the developer, by the way, not the township.
Okay.
No money,
Is
out
that
of the
turnaround
township.
actually gonna be in the township, or is that in the city? 'Cause that's darn
That's
close
real
to the-
close.
Well, it's right on the line.
Right.
And
But
then
either way, as long as it never connects through, because again, that's just more wear and tear on a road we have to maintain
Yep,
too, so.
that's
I mean, I would, did you motion to approve it?
I'll make the motion to adopt resolution 13.
I'll second.
Roll call vote,
Corolla, yes?
Fullerton, yes.
O'Neill, yes? Okay, that is it. Do we need an executive session? I don't need one. I'll make the motion to pay the warrants of the township and adjourn.
I wanna add one thing. Can we make a resolution or whatever on the microphone issue? Once again, kinda like went underneath the bridge.
Chris, you
Who's
wanna
gonna take
lead
care
on
of
that? You took
I'll
lead
take
on
the
the
lead.
cameras, you wanna
Yeah.
take lead on the microphones?
Sure.
Thank you.
policy this time.
Need a second?
Second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Meeting adjourned. It is 8:14.